We are live on YouTube. Whenever you guys want to go, I can pull this down.
I'm going to go ahead and broadcast us now just to let students in the room, but we aren't starting the recording yet. But I'm going to go ahead and broadcast. So Tim, just go ahead and turn off your camera and pass off the host to me later. We'll be okay.
Sounds great.
So I'm going to go ahead and broadcast and get some students in with us. All right, hi students, this is Kathleen. I'm here to make sure that Zoom is running technically smooth, and welcome also to those that seeing us on the YouTube side. We'll be starting in less than a minute, just giving a moment for everyone to join. And for those that hear me, you probably see a chat icon for the attendees. Please, when you click on it, if you can, please hit the drop down and select all panelists and attendees. That way other attendees can see your messages. It would be appreciated. I see some people already saying hello. Hi, Stephen. Hi, Jessica. Thanks for joining. Thank you for those typing. We will start shortly. And Hector, let me know when you are ready for me to start the recording.
All right, let's hit 7:02.
Okay, sounds good. We'll be starting in about 10 seconds or so. Thanks again for everyone joining us. Hope everyone is safe, healthy.
All right.
All right. Okay, Hector, you're welcome to speak in 3, 2, 1.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back. My name is Hector Verdugo. I'm the Senior Vice President of Admissions for Academy of Art University here in San Francisco. Hope everybody is having a wonderful evening, wonderful morning out there. If you don't mind, I just want to get us started here by pointing out once again our chat feature. So if you're a first timer here to one of our workshops, webinars, take a look down below here. Make sure that you're looking at the chat button. Please make sure that when you click that chat button, you're adjusting your to all panelists and attendees. This way that we can participate, interactive, take questions, comments, etc., all in the chat. So make sure that you adjust that while you got a quick second here, as we want to make tonight a fun and interactive event. So before we get started, one thing I wanted to do is just give a shout out to everybody that's out there. So if you don't mind, in the chat, please let us know where you're from here. I see you, Jordan, hello out there in Maryland. We have Kate in Mississippi. We have Florida in the house, Gabby in Arizona, New Mexico, New York, San Francisco, Puerto Rico, Orlando, South Carolina. I see Minnesota's in the house tonight, San Diego, California, ooh, London, India, a bunch of people from New York. Hope you're safe out there. Oregon, go Ducks. Nevada, China, Florida. All right, looks like we have a lot of people out there. I think Steven's out there, if I'm not mistaken, right? Is Steven here? There he is. There's Steven. Steven has the perfect attendance so far. So thank you for being here. Much appreciated. So hey, tonight, I want to go ahead and take a quick second. If we can pause the chat. One thing I wanted to do is take a quick second to let everybody know what we have coming up for next week. Right here, I'm going to be putting in a chat. But for next Tuesday at 7 p.m., our next event will be a 3D draping workshop. This is going to be super cool and interactive. You can participate and register here. Robert Curry, one of our faculty members, is going to be teaching people how to do cuts, 3D draping. It's going to be totally interactive. We'll have a hashtag that we can use for Instagram as well to see what everybody creates. So please RSVP tonight if you can, so we can participate for next week. So I'm going to get off the mic here. Let me go ahead and introduce our cast. We actually have a large cast tonight that's going to be helping out with a variety of different things. So what I'll do is just do a quick little introduction. I'm shortening their bios because the people on here have more awards and more all kinds of cool stuff. So we have 2 actors that are going to be helping us out tonight, Marvin and Mariah. So thank you so much for participating tonight. We have Melissa Seidman who will be participating tonight. She's our academic VP of entertainment. We have Bruce Finn, a director of photography. He's a multiple Emmy Award winner. He has over 100 different television shows and episodes that he's worked on, as well as pilots. One of his most famous things that he's done, and I don't want to obviously say this the wrong way, but he's worked on famous holograms, something really cool for Michael Jackson for Slave to the Rhythm. We also have Randy Levinson, who's also participating tonight. Randy Levinson's a director. He's been a studio executive and independent producer He's developed and supervised production for over 40 films and TV movies for Showtime, Stars, USA, Lifetime. He's also an executive producer for The Gay Riviera, a groundbreaking reality series on Bravo. Maybe some of you have heard of that before. And then last but not least, we have Jana Memel, our executive director for the Schools of Entertainment. She'll be one of our main hosts tonight. Jana Memel is an Academy Award-winning producer. For some of you that don't know, Academy Awards, also known as an Oscar. Jana Memel has also produced over 25 movies, over 65 half-hour live stream shorts. Has played in television series all over 30 different countries, you name it, right? She's also won awards for Writers Guild and Directors Guild Awards, Emmys, Cable ACE Awards, and the Humanitas Prize. So without further ado, I'd like to thank you all for being here tonight. I'm looking forward to a fun interactive workshop. I'll be in the chat tonight. Please make sure that you're interacting. I'm going to pass it over to our star of our show tonight, Miss Jana Memel. Thank you all.
Hey everybody, I'm actually much more comfortable behind the camera than in front of the camera, but here I am in front of you all. The first thing I'm going to do is just share a very small video that shows you all some of the work we did this last summer at AAU. And you will see how students can interact with all kinds of stuff.
I think AAU has a lot of great opportunities for filmmakers to explore what they're capable of.
I think the students at AAU are really close to the industry, and then they can attach it after they graduate.
I'll be back. Stop here.
Every single professor I've had has been just like a pool of knowledge.
Work with teachers who are professionals in the industry really makes you feel confident and like you can go out there and do it on a real set.
But then we should do 3 colors.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. The AD never leaves.
Okay, I know.
The AD never leaves.
Like if so that if you bring him forward into this kind of close-up where he notices.
Much more promising than that much.
Guys! I don't, whoa! Guys, where'd you go?
So the majority of that was from our summer web series, which every summer we shoot a web series that the students write, direct, and produce. And even this summer, in days of COVID, we're going to be shooting a web series. We've been working on it all day today. So just a brief run through of how our film and writing schools work and our acting schools. The first 3 semesters, you get to take 1 class from every discipline. So you come here, you think you want to be a director, and you take Cinema 1 and Lighting 1, and you go, oh, no, I want to be a director of cinematography. So we give you a menu of absolutely everything to take in filmmaking in the first 3 semesters. Then you can major. So you can major in directing, and I'm sure a lot of you know the director is the creative fountainhead of a film. They have their fingers in every department, and that's Hannah Yu right there, who won our film festival 2 years ago. And then you can be a producer. And Randy's going to talk about producing. A producer is in charge of all the money, in charge of hiring everything, in charge of scheduling everything. And in a good movie, a producer is the director's right-hand person. You can be a cinematographer. And the really cool thing about studying cinematography at AAU, and Bruce is going to show you some of our cinematography stuff, is we bring cameras up here every semester from LA, and we bring the highest end digital camera on the market now. So if you're studying cinematography at AAU, you're going to be working with the best tools there are around. Production design, we're one of the few schools in America that has a production design department. Now, the really, really cool thing about working at our school is we have 5 sound stages, and they're Hollywood quality sound stages. So when we do production design here, your work as a director or as an actor looks like you were shooting a film or TV movie. Our editing equipment, again, state of the art. and we get you certified in Avid, which is the editing format used in the studios. We also teach you After Effects. We teach you color timing. We teach you everything possible to go out and get a job in the industry when you leave school. And then, of course, there's screenwriting, my sort of heart, which without a screenwriter, there is no filmmaking, whether it's a 1-minute video or a 4-hour movie. Somebody's got to write it as the beginning. So our writers start out taking the same kind of buffet. We teach people to write film and TV and, of course, new media. And then there's the School of Acting. And that's where you see it all come together in some ways, because we have our actors working with our cinematographers, working with our directors, working with our producers. In the acting school, again, buffet at the beginning. You take voice and speech, you take movement. You're even going to learn a little bit about writing, a little bit more than today, but we're not forcing you to be writers. But we want to make sure that as actors, you understand what goes in to what's going on. So a lot of our actors even take directing classes. And then we have tons of theater at AAU. We have 8 productions going on in the next month. So even in the times of COVID, we're doing improv, we're doing one-person shows, we're going to be doing a takeoff on Little Shop of Horror. We just did a major Shakespeare comedy last week that 100 people came to watch on Zoom. So if you're an actor and you want to be doing theater, no matter what you're doing, you can be doing it. And then our on-camera work. So as an actor, we bring up 2 directors who work in Hollywood every week that direct between 8 and 20 of our actors on our soundstage. So when you leave here, when you leave AAU, you will have a professional reel to show agents that looks like you were in a TV series or in a movie. So no matter what you're doing in AAU, you can work in a web series. You can be a crew member, you can be a cinematographer, you can be an actor, there's production designers, producers, and we make a web series every summer. You can work in our class called Production Hub. Production Hub does PSAs and commercials. We're currently doing a ton of PSAs for the state of California on COVID. We have people shooting in their houses that are going up on the state website right now. We're partners with the San Francisco City Fire Department, who runs our stuff on television, and you get to play with the big fire toys. So you get to do commercials and PSAs that run nationally. So before we go any further, we want to read out loud with our wonderful actors the script we're going to talk about and work on today. So I want to introduce Mariah Moore, who is a junior in our acting program and just got cast in a Lifetime movie as a lead, and Marvin Green, who is one of our acting professors, and they're going to do a read through of the script we're going to work on today.
Interior office day. Donna and her boss in his office.
Look, I don't want this. I don't want you to think that this is about me being unhappy here. I wanted to talk to you because I'm not really sure if things are working out for me here.
Well, that sounds serious. You're not leaving, are you?
Well, maybe. I don't know yet, actually.
Huh. But is it the new position?
Oh, no. I'm really enjoying it. I am.
Yeah, we see that as a step forward.
No, yeah. And I was really pleased to get it, but look, I don't know if you know this, but I recently canceled my wedding.
Yeah, I know.
So, yeah, I've just been kind of reevaluating all aspects of my life, and I think I should be having an honest look at my skills, and perhaps I should be aiming a bit higher.
Cool, but it's a bit sudden, isn't it?
Well, okay, I mean, I haven't made any decisions yet because I wanted to talk to you, of course.
Well, okay.
I just think that there might be more to life than being a marketing manager.
What?
I'm just wondering if there's much, much more than just being a marketing manager.
But you're not a marketing manager.
But I am.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am. I've been marketing manager for the past 6 months since my last pay review. I thought that's what we were talking about. Is that
No, you're not.
Look, I'm not saying that I'm not grateful for the position, because I am. I am.
The boss looks through Donna's personnel file.
Look, that's a big mistake.
I'm sorry, what?
You're not a marketing manager. That's a mistake. You're supposed to be the marketing manager's AA.
AA?
Yes. You thought you went from reception to marketing manager?
Well, yeah.
Well, didn't you see Jenny doing the marketing manager's job?
Well, I mean, I just thought she was being helpful, right?
Well, what about your salary? Your salary didn't go up.
Yes, it did.
What?
It did. Of course it went up. But
Oh my God.
You know what, Ian? Thank you so much for this chat. It's been really helpful.
That's twice what
Donna
you were
gets up
doing
to
before.
And it's helped me to sort of focus things in the I really should get going.
You didn't think that was a bit much?
Well, I mean, I thought that it reflected my potential, but
we're gonna need that back. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. I'm going to start my video again. Or can you do it for me, Kathleen? There we go. It says unable to start the video because the host has stopped it. There we
You should
go.
be able to now, Jana.
Okay, thanks. Hi, guys. So what we're going to talk about is how the writer came to that piece of material and how you create character in film. Now, what I want you guys to be thinking of while we're chatting is I want you to be thinking of different backstories, and you're going to hear a lot about backstory in the next few minutes, different backstories you can put into these characters and write your backstories that you come up with in the chat. So where do ideas come from? So ideas, first of all, they come from thin air. Like you're just walking down the street and you see the dog chasing a lion and you go, wow, that'd be a great idea. Or ideas come from what if? Yes, everyday life, says Nadita. Yes, what if? What if I were to suddenly have a date with Brad Pitt? And then you write a movie about an old woman who has a date with Brad Pitt and is really, really happy. Or ideas come from your own personal life, or ideas come from film titles or songs. Ideas can come from something you saw on social media. So ideas come from absolutely everywhere. But having an idea isn't enough. In fact, you can't even copyright an idea. An idea has to turn into something. So where do you go with your idea? Well, you can go first to character, and you can write all about, and that's what we're going to be talking about today, all about the characters walking through the idea. Who are those people? Who was this girl? What happened to this girl before she came in the room? Why did this girl think she got that level of a promotion? Or you can write about the plot, which is the story of what goes on. But when you're a writer, you have to combine character and plot. And it's a seesaw, back and forth, working on character and plot. So first of all, you're going to create your protagonist. So you guys have to decide who's the hero of the story. Now there's two ways to go, right? Marvin could be the hero because he's called this girl in for a meeting. So you guys got to figure out, well, who called this meeting? Who has a goal? Who wants to make something happen? And that's the protagonist of your movie, the person who's going after something. And the goal has to be concrete. The goal has to be something that people can see or touch. So we call the goal the want. And with the want, you can't want to be rich, because what's rich to me is very different to what's rich to Bill Gates. What's rich to me is very different to a 15-year-old. So what does rich mean? Well, what rich means is I want to earn $1 million. That's concrete. Everybody can define that. Or I want to get this job because this job will give me enough money to be rich. So your protagonist has to have a goal. So Mariah might have come into this room as a protagonist that that's a goal, okay? Goals that are red herrings that are set up in the first act in answer to Steve, a goal can change over time depending on the next thing. And the next thing is a need. So every protagonist has a need. Now the need is not, I need a gun to rob a bank. A need is something inside of the protagonist. It's like a flaw or an emotional hole. Like somebody really needs people to love them, but they're a boss and they need to fire people. Well, a need is sort of like an internal foe. It's getting in the way of your goal. So if Mariah came in the room and she wanted to move to another job, but her need could be that she's arrogant and pushy and totally turns Marvin off. So she has to get over that. What might the boss need from Mariah character? The boss might need, and that's one of the things we want you guys to figure out. The boss might need Mariah to show up on time every day, or the boss might need Mariah to be more respectful to the person who's really her boss. But those are concrete, so that would be a goal. What would the boss need? The boss would need Mariah to like him. So while he's trying to get Mariah to show up on time, he's being much too nice to her because he needs everybody to like him. And that's getting in the way of his goal of wanting Mariah to show up on time and really drawing a line. So one of the things we want you guys to do in the chat is write different needs and wants, both for Marvin and Mariah, so we can give it to them, because we're going to show you how to direct that and how to change people's needs and wants. So please start thinking about, if Marvin were the protagonist, what would he need and want? If Mariah were the protagonist, what would she need and want? And then you have the antagonist. And the antagonist is the biggest foe to the protagonist, the biggest thing in their way. And the really interesting thing about an antagonist is it doesn't have to be a person. An antagonist could be the ocean, and the person is trying to get across the ocean, but they can't. An antagonist could be a monster. An antagonist could be a smart house that's keeping you locked in. So an antagonist is just the biggest foe to the protagonist. Now, the interesting thing about antagonists is they could also be nice. They could be the mother that wants their kid to study to be an accountant instead of studying to be a film director. They're trying to stop the protagonist from getting what they want, but they're trying to do that because they think they know something better. So keep in mind, the antagonist doesn't need to be a bad person. So Mariah could come in here wanting a raise, and Marvin could come in here wanting her to perform better at her job. So he's the antagonist because he's not going to get her a raise, but he also knows that if she were to perform better at her job, then she might get a raise. So always remember, the antagonist does not need to be a bad person. But all of this comes from backstory. And backstory is the most important thing you have to think about when you're building characters. And that's really, really, really what we want you guys to work on. So what backstory is everything in the life of your character up to the minute the scene or the movie starts, okay? All the things that make you you. So there are 3 big buckets of backstory. The first bucket is physical. What if Mariah were shorter than the average woman, and she felt bad about being short? And so she went around like being tall and big heels and sort of domineering and a little bit pushy, all because she was short and she didn't want to be taken as a kid, okay? But because of that attitude on life, people don't like her, or people stay away from her. Or let's try another thing. Suppose Mariah were stunningly gorgeous, and everybody thinks stunningly gorgeous people have no problems. But in fact, Mariah is a very sad girl and she's very unhappy, but nobody believes that. And so whenever she talks about her problems, everybody dismisses her, which makes her not want to talk about her problems. So she becomes very quiet. So that's how physical elements affect who a character is. Then there are the social elements. How old are you? Are you the youngest child? Or, hey, I'm the oldest child. I have to run everything. My sister, who's the baby at 60 years old, is still the youngest child. And when we're together, I'm the boss and she's the baby. And that's just the way it is. Did you come from a house where everybody's highly educated? Do you have a lot of money? Did you grow up poor and then you became rich? Did you grow up rich and now you're poor? A million facts that about how you function in society, and even how you were raised. What went on in your childhood that made you you, that made you scared? Did you wake up one night and your parents weren't home and you were really, really scared? And ever since then, anytime anybody is late or they're not around when you need them, you get like very anxious and trembling and shivery. Well, how are you going to behave at work if that were the thing that was going to happen? And then the final thing is the psychological part of your character. What do they hate? What Mariah hates messy desks. And she walks into Marvin's office and papers are everywhere. Marvin doesn't like girls who wear short skirts or women who wear pants, and Mariah comes in a pair of jeans. What do you love? Mariah has a thing for older men. And when she saw Marvin, well, she was thinking she was going to come all aggressive, but he just makes her melt. And so her entire behavior is different. So likes, hates, fears, all of these things lead to the backstory. And the backstory of a character is how they walk through the plot. So in many different ways, character is so much more important than plot, because if you really think about plots of a movie, 50 Shades of Grey and My Fair Lady and Pretty Women are all the same story. There's very few stories that are brand new. We always know how a romantic comedy is going to end up, except for a very few. But it's the people walking through them that make the story different. So it's how you build character as a writer, and that backstory, which allows them to react a certain way to events, that's important. So what we're going to ask you is to give us tons of backstory that we can play with. So that's Kathleen. You can turn me off and stop my sharing.
And now it's me.
And now it's Randy.
So I'm going to talk about producing. So we have just read and listened to the actors perform a easy 3-page scene. It's set in an office. How easy can that be from a producing standpoint? Well, as it turns out, as we're going to discuss right now, it can be really, really, really complicated. There's a lot of things that can be going on. So remember that Jana talked about in the beginning of taking the first 2 years of MPT, there's a buffet of courses that you can take. Each of those departments, I'm going to just briefly go discuss and see what impact they have. And I'm going to save the person who means the most at the end, the director. So here we have this office scene. Do we shoot it? Do we have somebody, location manager, and working with the cinematographer and production designer and the producer, going out and looking all over San Francisco for an office building? Well, actually now that would be kind of easy if we could shoot, because any office building would be available. But let's assume this is normal times, right? So the production design department is going to be thinking about, when they look into a space, the space exists. If Marvin, as it turns out, has a built-in wall-to-wall office space, and we walk into a place within a built-in wall-to-wall, cabinets and bookcases, and it doesn't fit, well, guess what? We can't just hammer it out. We can't just take it away because it actually exists. So that's a consideration. So the production department is going to have to figure out, how can we disguise this if that's necessary? Can there be a tweak in the character? And how does the director feel about that? The director is always going to make some kind of decision here. What about the paint color? Well, you know what? You can't just ordinarily paint a wall unless you get permission. And you don't own the space, so you have to deal with that. The production designer, the cinematographer are going to say, wait, we cannot, I don't like the color of the wall. The director is going to say, this doesn't work for the character. We need to switch it. That location probably isn't going to be used. So the production designer, on the other hand, there's furniture. The furniture might be perfect. The furniture might be capable of being used. So that helps us. That's a really wonderful thing. So there are all of these elements that a production designer is going to be looking at. And also in particular, an office that is lived in for years, let's say, Marvin has had this office forever, there is a sense that it's been lived in. There's been activity in the space that can be picked up in camera, and production design can accentuate it. So you won't necessarily have to spend the money that you would on a sound stage, which we're going to talk about in 1 second. Now let's go to camera. Let's look at this office space. Let's say the director loves the way the light comes in when they've seen this office, and that's something that they want to get. So that's really important. So the camera department, the cinematographer, is going to say, well, this is a 3-page scene and you have a lot of setups, so the light is going to change as it comes through the window, and it's going to be a problem matching, or it could be a problem matching. So the cinematographer is worried about this wonderful space, even perhaps from a camera point of view, but from a lighting point of view, it might be really challenging, particularly if this is supposed to take place in the early morning, but in reality, as all shoots go, this could go well into the late afternoon, where the lighting has changed. The other problem is, we found supposedly a great space from a production design point of view, but guess what? The director wants a wide shot, and you can only go as wide as getting to the back of the wall, as wide a lens as you can use, but maybe that doesn't quite work for the cinematographer. So that could be a problem as well. Let's look at the other thing about lighting is, let's say we have found an office that really is great, but guess what? It has fluorescent lighting. Well, fluorescent lighting is generally used, the tubes these days, to make people look good. But guess what? When you're shooting on film, digital TV, for TV or film, it does not look good. There is a hum sometimes. So those are issues that have to be dealt with. Can we switch them out? Not always. You may not get permission to do that from the person who owns the building. So there's those tricky things that camera's going to weigh in on. Then we have the issue of sound. So I don't know where you live, but probably sometime by the end of this meeting, there'll be a siren going around. There's a police officer or something like that. Airplane noise. That's very, very problematic. It slows down a production. Sometimes all of us here have been on productions where, for one weird reason or another, the flight plan has changed over the location that ordinarily gets no planes coming in and out, but because of wind conditions or other kind of weather, suddenly we are stuck with this place, and every few minutes we have to stop because a plane can be heard. The boom mic, the sound, that the equipment that's being used is very, very sensitive. Even if, let's say, Mariah is pacing or Marvin is pacing on the floor and it's creaking, that can be picked up. So that's going to be a really big issue. Okay, so let's then deal with sort of my fun area, production, the actual production department. Your friend says, hey, I have a great place for you to shoot this scene. Well, as it turns out, this great place you don't own. And so you have to find out, the production department has to find out, can we actually shoot here? What are the restrictions? This building is in a high-rise building. I mean, the scene is set in a high-rise building, and nobody's allowed to shoot during the day. You have to shoot at night. Suddenly the director's love of the lighting, that's going to go out the window, so to speak, right? How do you haul in the equipment? As many of you know, production lighting, camera equipment is very big, very bulky. It depends also on the lights. It can even be bigger. So where is this going to happen? Is there a dedicated freight elevator if for some reason they should let you shoot during the day? Where would you be doing it? How far is it to get to that freight elevator? What about parking? There are a lot, you probably where you live, many of you, there are in LA, right around the block, about 2-3 months ago, there was a shoot, a big shoot. There must have been 15 trucks at least, real big, 18-wheelers. There's honey wagons where the cast is, hanging out, where department heads like makeup and hair and costume, that's where they're parked on the street. Well, where is that going to be in the space that you're thinking about renting? How far away is it? Can you get permits? The city just doesn't let you take over. You have to be able to do that. There are places in Los Angeles where I'm currently at where they're very restrictive about that, depending on the neighborhood and the time of day. So there are those issues. What about when the actors aren't working? How far away will they be? After all, we're just renting an office space, or are we? Do we have to rent out other office spaces to keep all these departments doing their thing, to have the actors have a space for themselves? What about the food situation? So not now, but when hopefully things return to normal, there's a big table, it's called a craft service table, where during the day, cast and crew can go snack. There's drinks, there's little snacks to eat. And then there's a main meal, which is called lunch. And where is that going to take place? After all, again, if you're renting an office, is there a place outside to go? What happens if you're shooting in the middle of the winter, or rain should happen? Is it a sheltered space? So there's all of these considerations that you have to figure out. Now, having said all that, there is such a thing called a soundstage. And a soundstage is just what it sounds like. It's a place really where sound is not an issue. So we don't have to worry about the airplane noises. At AAU, we don't have to worry about these things. We have 5 of them. So we're covered there. We don't have to worry about the size of the space because the walls fly away. In other words, they're temporary, right? So any kind of move, the director wants this back and forth dolly move with following Marvin and then maybe turning around and following Mariah. Lots of opportunity for space, much bigger than probably would exist in the space that you would be using on a practical location. In terms of production design, you can do whatever you want. You can start from scratch, but literally you have to start from scratch. There is no furniture. The other place had furniture maybe. The other place had some architectural detail that was interesting, but okay, you do it here. That's really great. but it's going to be, you're basically working on an empty canvas, and now you have to dress it, and that can be expensive, right? So we have that issue. Then we lose the issue about where to put the various departments and all the costume changes that might exist and all the extra lights and gear. Not a problem, because the soundstage is built to take care of that matter. There's lots of spaces to put actors, to have them have their makeup. They even have usually tech people. If there's a problem, they'll deal with it. They'll have a lighting grid on top that help you, where you don't have to worry about a lot of times those big lights that you may need that aren't going to be on the set. And so you can manipulate that in a way that makes it easy. But guess what? That costs money, okay? So that sound stages are usually more than practical locations for precisely what I've been talking about. They end up taking care of anticipating needs. They'll figure out where parking is. There's usually a dedicated space. It's easy probably to get permits to be able to park on those big trucks on the street, or they have a loading area where you can do that. So, but ultimately, the producer, as Jana said, wants to protect the director, wants to get the directors if the director wants something, the idea is how can we make it work? The director in film is the general of the army, the commander of the ship. So the idea is to really try to service their needs so that they're happy, that they have a vision for what this looks like. Many of the things I said, they can be overcome. Maybe a producer, maybe the director is willing to compromise. So those are the kind of considerations that you would have to really think about hard and fast. And ultimately, the producer is caught between the director on the one hand, who usually is focused on their creative decisions and their creative vision, and the investors, whether it's a studio, whether it's private investment, whether it's production company, wherever the money's coming from, they want this to be at a certain budget and not go a penny over. So there's a balancing act. A soundstage could cost more, although at AAU, it won't cost more because you have that opportunity. But on the other hand, this director wants something really great. So a producer has to kind of figure that out. And in our movies, we only have one scene here. There's oftentimes both things are going on, just like regular film and TV shows even. Sometimes you're on a practical location because the space doesn't really mean that much. It's easy to design the set, move out the furniture that exists and put other stuff in. The wall color is perfect. But in other situations, the sound stage is perfect for a variety of reasons, for all the things that I've said, in terms of camera, in terms of light, in terms of camera, in terms of design, in terms of sound. So those are the things that go into even this very little scene. And that's it for me. I haven't seen, let me see the chat there.
Oh, now Bruce,
Yeah.
your turn.
So Randy, thank you so much for setting me up so beautifully to talk about how we would do this on a soundstage. And as you all, I hope, can see in the background here, I've taken the liberty in my den here to show a little bit of an office scene as if we were going to shoot it on a soundstage. And first, let me say, as a director of photography, that I love shooting on practical locations and I love shooting on sound stages. So my answer is there are beauties for both things, but I love to teach both. And at ArtU, we have beautiful sound stages, and I have the ability to teach you how to work on certain things like this. So as you can see, one of the first things that we do when we have a little scene like this, let's say this scene is supposed to happen in a city. And one of the things that Randy might have mentioned, or maybe not, was what if you're on the 20th floor of this building? How are you going to control that light? He did mention what happens if it got to be nighttime. So one of the first things that we do on a soundstage is we think about what's outside the window and what kind of source light we can create in this kind of a situation. So I'm going to show you a little thing that we love in the business, which is a backing. and I'm going to turn on the backing right here for you to take a quick look at it. Okay, now give me one moment here, and I'm going to hook up my other camera. I'm going to do a little screen share. Give me one quick second. I'm going to do a little mirroring here. We're going to go over here. We're going to go over here. Great. And we're going to get the camera from my iPhone. And then we're going to take a look at our set. Fantastic. Okay. So we have this beautiful backing because we didn't have to go all the way to the city or to New York, because we have our backing right here. So the first thing is we want to pick a backing that's appropriate for our subject. Okay. I didn't know what the characters looked like. And I have to admit, I'm a little limited with what I have for characters, but let's say this is our boss and this is our worker here sitting at that situation. Let's say we do have our beautiful view of the city outside. And that's one of the things that I love to teach, which is how to make how to make a set on stage look like a realistic location. And one of the things that we do is we work with backings. Now, the second thing I do after we get the backing lit up in a situation like this is I look for the opportunities for good lighting, okay? There's an opportunity to put a source light like the sun through this window. So with this 200-watt light that we have here, we're gonna emulate what we would do on stage with a 10K or a 20K. I would turn to my gaffer and my electrical crew and I would say, hey, let's bash something big through that window. Let's see what kind of beauty and production value we can get out of a big light that's going to crash through that window. So come over here, bang. Look at all that beautiful daylight that we can put into the environment. And of course, we want that daylight to support the story. You know, if it's supposed to be a gloomy, rainy, horrible day, the daylight doesn't support the story. But if it does, bang, we can do these beautiful things, okay? So here's our view out the window. Of course, we want our subjects to be beautifully illuminated. Not only do we want source light to be happening, not only do we want to be able to see out the window, but how do we illuminate our subjects? And one of the things that I love to teach at ArtU is I love to teach back cross key lighting theory. It's something that we do on dramatic sets all the time. I have a lot of experience doing single camera and multi-camera work, so I can teach back cross key lighting for dramatic shows and sitcom kind of things. The beauty of back cross key lighting is the light comes at a 45-degree angle. People ask me where the key light comes from. I'm always just like, traffic cop comes from right here, gets into both eyes on the subject. It looks beautiful. Let's turn on a key light, a far side key light at a 45-degree angle that's coming to our actress right here. And let's see what that looks like. So we have our back cross key light right here. There you go. So let's take a quick look at that. And let's take a quick look at what that light is looking like here. Okay, so our subject, our tiny subject, is looking quite good with that back cross key. Okay, right here. So then we come around. So here's coverage. Okay, let's talk about coverage too. So here's a single of our beautiful person, of our beautiful Mariah. Okay, then let's say we would come around here for a 2-shot. Sometimes we call this a 50-50. Okay, in the back cross key lighting theory, the key light is on Mariah now. Let's talk about having a key light for our Marvin character. Okay, so that's a 45-degree angle, a far side key for a second character. Let's turn that on and see what that looks like. Okay, So there we go. So what that light, as you can see, our subjects are both beautifully illuminated, right in the face. They get nice light in their face. You can see that when that key light came on for our subject on the right, not only did it key light the subject on the right, but it backlit the subject on the left. So what you're doing here basically is you're key lighting the subject with one far side key that is also backlighting the subject on the right. So you're doing two things with one light. Okay, this is backlight for the subject on the right and key light for the subject on the left. This is backlight for the subject on the left and key light for the subject on the right. This is called back-cross key theory, and it's the cornerstone for a lot of lighting scenarios, both in single camera and multi-camera work. It's a beautiful technique because it allows you to get a wide shot and two close-ups pretty much at the same time, beautifully lit, without having a lot of touch-ups when you go in for coverage. It also allows you to do this with multiple cameras at the same time. So let's look at some shots that we might possibly get here. Okay, so let's come around here and let's see if we can get an over. We might have to go handheld here. Let's see if we can get a nice over. Here we go. So this might be one of our shots. Okay, we might have an over from our manager to our worker. That might be a shot. Okay, we like to teach coverage. We have great equipment. We shoot a lot of film in RU and digital. So here's an over this way. We might want to get a matching over from this side. Now you might say, well, what's behind our manager? If this is a wild wall, so let's say this wild wall comes in, we call our grips to come in and bring this wild wall in. It looks a little short right here, but I wanted to give you the idea that sometimes we use wild walls, and at ArtU we teach you how to do these things. Okay, so we have coverage, we have back-cross key theory with just a few lights that's lighting all this set. Count the lights here. We have a back cross from the left, back cross from the right, that's two lights. We have a light on the backing, makes three. Okay, we have a source light that makes four, and we have a little fill in the room just to be fair, so that would be five. So we've lit this whole beautiful big daytime light on set with only 5 lighting instruments. So one of the keys that makes you a really well sought after director of photography is if you can do things really well and really fast. Okay, so let's talk about what would happen. Talking about really well and really fast, what happens if the scene is supposed to happen at night? Let's see if we can turn this into night. Okay, so what's the difference between lighting during the day and lighting at night? Well, for one thing, the source light would want to be really cold, right? The source light would want to be a lot less. So we throw some scrims into this light to make it a lot less, right? We put on our gloves because those lights get a little hot. And we put on a little blue gel here. We're going to turn this set into night. Okay, so now we have what looks a lot more like moonlight coming in that window. Okay, we're going to turn, this is a day-night backing. So when you front light it, it looks like it's day. When you backlight it, it looks like it's night. These are wonderful tools that we get to use on set to make a practical, to make a studio set look like a practical environment. Backings are really crucial. So let's take a closer look at that backing. Look how great that looks, right? Doesn't that look great? So we have backings that we can use to utilize our standing sets and utilize our sound stages and make these things look really fabulous. Let's come out a little bit to a wider shot and talk about what else we will need to turn this into night. Okay, so we've got our moonlight, we've got our backing for night. I think that we need some practicals. So we can come over here, turn a little practical on. Let's say that there's a chandelier that should be happening. I love to teach how to emulate light and how to work with light. Here's a practical in the corner. And again, I'm not trying to teach you how to light miniatures, and I'm not trying to teach you how to light a Barbie commercial. What we're talking about here is the principles of stage lighting. And given the fact that we can't be on our stage tonight, I wanted to give you as close as I could to being on our stage at ArtU tonight by showing you this with a scale miniature. Let's say that we decided that we wanted even more bang, as we say, out of that practical. We wanted it to look a little more interesting. We can take this a little bit up. We can bring this a little bit down. We can emulate the sources, emulate the source of the chandelier. Maybe there's a little bit too much fill going on in the room. Maybe we'll do a little bit of that. So how does that look for nighttime for something that we just pulled together that I built out of stuff I could get from Amazon as soon as all this stuff happened? Not bad, right?
That was great, Bruce. Thank you. Now we're going to show you how this all comes together in a scene. Unfortunately, Mariah and Marvin can't fit into the little set. So instead, can you stop screen sharing, Bruce?
I sure can.
Now, Melissa Seidman, who not only is the dean of all of the schools of entertainment, but teaches in our acting and directing programs, is going to be working with the actors to show you, from all the great stuff you've been working in your chat, how you direct the scene with different backstories. So take it away, Melissa.
Perfect. So Marvin and Mariah are going to pop on, and Bruce is going to turn his camera off. So as we've been going through the different workshops, thanks to our incredibly creative participants, we've had tons of suggestions of possible adjustments for the actors. So basically the way that you saw Mariah and Marvin do the scene the first time, it was their choice. That was the first time they'd actually done the scene together. They just got it this morning. From my perspective, it was a great read. We actually could have shot it. So in terms of directing, like, you do have to know when to stop, but because this is a directing workshop, we're actually going to give the actors some adjustments, and you guys had terrific ideas. I can't see Mariah, but I assume you guys can. So here are the adjustments, and we'll do a couple of these at least. So for you, Marvin, this comes from the participants, directly from them, do not blame me. You think that Mariah is embezzling, and you have called her in to fire her.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right.
And Mariah, for you, you are challenging him for his job.
Okay.
Which you would be much better at. Let's face it.
Okay.
All right, so I'm just going to disappear, and whenever you guys are ready, you can run through it.
Well, will Randy also be doing the stage directions again, or are we?
Yes, let's have Randy do the stage directions again. Are you there, Randy?
Yeah, let me just pull up the script.
Perfect.
Oh, hold on one second.
No worries. So for those of you watching, what you're going to look for is the way that the actors relate to each other is obviously going to be different based on these two different choices. So what Marvin has is a change in what we call the given circumstances. And I know we have a lot of actors on this webinar. So the given circumstances are basically who, what's the relationship with these two people? Where are they? What's the situation? In other words, what's the transaction going on between them? So thanks to, I think there were like 2 or 3 participants who basically had the same idea in different forms. The given circumstances just changed when I suggested to Marvin, you called her here to fire her, right? And then same for Mariah, that's a given circumstance adjustment, is you're challenging him for his job. Okay, you ready, Randy?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, I'm disappearing now, here we go. Whenever you guys are ready.
Ready, actors?
Yeah.
Interior office day. Donna and her boss in his office.
Here's the thing. I don't want you to think that this is about me being unhappy here. I just, want to talk to you because I'm not sure if things are entirely working out for me here.
Sounds serious. You're not planning on leaving, are you?
Well, maybe. Not sure.
Is it the new position?
No. I'm actually really enjoying it. Really.
We see that as a step forward.
No, absolutely. And I was really pleased to get it. Look, I don't know if you know this, but I recently canceled my wedding.
Well, I know.
So yeah, I've been reevaluating things in my life in all areas, and I just think I should be having an honest look at my skills, and perhaps I should be aiming a bit higher.
Cool. It's sudden, isn't it?
Okay, well, look, I haven't made any decisions yet because I wanted to talk to you, of course.
Okay.
I just think that there might be more to life than being a marketing manager.
What?
I'm just wondering if there's more than being a marketing manager.
But you're not a marketing manager.
But I am.
No, you're not.
But I am. And I've been marketing manager for the past 6 months since the last pay review. I thought that's what we were talking about.
No, you're not.
Okay, look, I'm not saying that I'm not grateful for the promotion because I am.
Boss looks through Donna's personnel file.
What? No, that's a mistake.
What's a mistake?
You're not marketing manager. You're supposed to be the marketing manager's AA.
AA?
Yeah. You thought you went from reception to marketing manager?
Well, yes.
Well, didn't you see Jenny doing the marketing manager's job?
Well, yeah, I just thought, she was being helpful, of course.
Well, yeah, what about your salary? Your salary didn't go up.
Yes, it did.
What?
It did go up. I mean, of course it went up.
Oh my God.
You know what, Ian? This has been a really, really nice chat. And I think it's really helped me to sort of focus.
That's twice what you should have been making.
Yeah, well, I think that I better head back out.
Didn't you think that was a bit much?
Oh, no. Well, I mean, I actually thought it reflected my potential, but.
You're going to have to give it back.
Right. Let's see about that.
Okay, good, guys. So those of you watching can see what we call status, right? So that's basically people's behavior and how they relate to each other. You can think of it as being dominant or being submissive in an animal sort of a way. They were both challenging each other for dominance based on the choice you gave them that time. we're going to move on to another choice, but I just want to show you how you might sharpen a small section of the scene if you're going to pursue this idea. So Marvin and Mariah, there's this, shoot, I don't have it in front of me, hang on. Okay. The section of the scene where I think there might be more to life than being a marketing manager. Can you just read me those lines?
Yeah. I just think that there might be more to life than being a marketing manager.
What?
Okay, that's the section. Yeah, that is the section I wanted. All right. So Mariah, I'm just going to up the stakes for you here. The president of the company just called you in right before this meeting and told you you have his job.
Oh,
you're just not allowed to tell him yet. So you couldn't wait to rush downstairs and have this interaction with him.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So we're just going to see how that tiny tweak changes, just a small section, and I will say cut at a certain point, not because you're not great, but just because we're looking at a small section. All right. Whenever you're ready.
You know, I just think that there might be more to life than being a marketing manager. So.
What?
Well, I'm just wondering if there's more than being just a marketing manager, you know.
But you're not a marketing manager.
But I am.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am. I've been marketing manager for the past 6 months since my last pay review. And that's what we're talking about.
No, you're not.
Look, I'm not saying that I'm not grateful for the position, because I am. I really am.
No, that's a mistake.
What's a mistake?
You're not marketing manager.
I'm just going to cut you guys there. That was great. So you can see how just sometimes sharpening and refocusing can get you an even clearer version of the dynamic you set up. So now we're going to play a very different dynamic. This is also from the participants. Thank you very much. So in this version, Marvin, you are really into her, okay? And so you definitely don't want her to leave, no matter what.
Okay.
And Mariah, they wanted you to go with, you want him to tell you how much he's going to miss you.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
So I won't give you an action. I'll just say whenever you guys are ready. It's going to disappear.
Okay.
And whenever you guys are ready.
Hey, so I
Hi.
don't want you to think that this is about me being unhappy here or anything. I wanted to talk to you because, well, I'm not sure if things aren't entirely working out for me here.
Well, that sounds serious. You're not thinking of leaving, are you?
Well, I mean, maybe. I don't know, but
I mean, is it the new job?
oh, no. I'm really enjoying it. I am.
Because we see that as a move forward.
No, yeah. And I was really pleased to get it and did a great job at it. But look, I don't know if you know, but I recently canceled my wedding.
Well, I know. I know.
I've just kind of been reevaluating things in all areas of my life. And I think I should be having an honest look at my skills, and maybe I should be aiming a bit higher, you know.
Cool. It's a bit sudden, isn't it?
Well, I mean, I haven't made any decisions yet. I wanted to talk to you about it just to see.
Well, okay.
Yeah. Well, I just think that there might be more to life than being a marketing manager, you know.
What?
Well, see, like I'm just wondering if there's more than being a marketing manager, or if there's something.
But you're not a marketing manager.
But I am.
Well, no, you're not.
But I am. I've been marketing manager for the past 6 months since my last pay review.
No.
I thought that's what we were talking about.
No, you're not.
Hey, I'm not saying that I'm not grateful for the promotion, because I am, but I'm
Oh, no, that's a mistake.
What?
Well, you're not marketing manager. That's a mistake. You are supposed to be marketing manager's AA.
AA.
Yeah. You thought you went from reception to marketing manager.
Well, yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Didn't you see Jenny was doing the marketing manager's job?
Well, I just thought she was, being helpful.
Well, what about your salary? Your salary didn't go up.
Yes, it did.
What?
Well, it did go up. I mean, of course it went up.
Oh my God.
No, this is really great, and thank you so much. It's really
That's twice what you should have been
sort of
getting.
focus on things, but I really need to go. And
Didn't you think that was a bit much?
well, I mean, actually, I thought it reflected my potential, right?
You'll have to give it back.
Well, okay.
Good, really fun. Quite different, quite different. So I think we have time just for one more quick run through, and then we're going to go to the Q&A. So thank you, actors, and you're getting great comments on the side, like, I love how the demeanor has changed. The awkwardness was great. And one person said, oh yeah, he knows. That was very lovely. So sometimes, guys, when you're directing, it will benefit you to have the actors play the same choice. It can actually create a lovely bonding and energy. So Mariah and Marvin, let's say that you're already having an affair. And so I'm going to change the given circumstances a little bit for them, guys who are watching. So when you're having this conversation, because it's so intimate, you really don't want the people outside to hear certain things you're saying. And then you can be having other parts that are just perfectly business-like. So we'll go ahead and let's just choose a weird section, like maybe when they're already talking about her being paid too much. Can you guys find a section where you'd like to start there?
Sure.
Because so for the participants, while the actors are finding the lines, really what acting is about is delivering a story that's not in the literal meaning of the lines. And that's not what a lot of actors think it is at the beginning of their training, but we spend a lot of time on that, don't we, Mariah? Lots of time.
Yeah.
The actors can really drive the story with their behavior. So that just to remind Marvin or Mariah, which line are we going to start on?
Do you want to start, Mariah, the last line on page 2? It says, yes, you thought you went from reception to marketing manager.
Oh, yeah.
Is that about where you were talking about, Melissa?
Yes.
Okay.
Perfect, because we have a participant, Crystal, who's like subtext. And I'm like, yes, come on in, Crystal, come into my class right now. That's great. Yeah, that would be great, Marvin, because the lines literally are, it sounds like they're fighting. So what you'll see at home is they're gonna take charge of the lines and make it be about, we're having this affair. So there's nothing going wrong between you. It's delicious. You're really into each other.
Oh, okay.
Couldn't be more delighted with each other in this section of the scene. So ignore the lines. It's about each other. And remember, you can use that like you don't want other people to hear. And then now we're being fine, you can use that. Okay, I'm going to disappear.
You thought you went from reception to marketing manager?
Yeah.
Didn't you think Jenny was doing the marketing manager's job?
No, listen. I just thought that she was being helpful.
I thought you would about your salary? Your salary didn't go up.
It did. It did. What? Yeah, no, it did go up. Of course it went up.
Oh my God.
Yeah. You know, Ian, thank you so much for this chat. It's really helps me.
That's twice what you should have been making.
Yeah, well, it's sort of helped me, you know, focus things and really helped. I better get back to.
But didn't you think that was a bit much?
Well, I mean, actually, I thought it reflected my potential. Don't you think?
You're gonna have to give it back.
You're so silly.
Good. So, you know, from the point of view of what we teach at in the Academy Film School, that was a fantastic example of acting, because it's like, it's something that the script is a blueprint, but you really don't know how it's going to blossom depending on the actors you hire, the choices that they make, and of course, all the other disciplines that if we were going to film this would light it, costume, you know, hair and makeup, everything else. So I'm going to thank Marvin and Mariah. And Marvin actually is one of our acting faculty. He's a fantastic teacher as well as a brilliant actor. And we're so proud of Mariah. He was the only student I've ever heard of at our school or another that got the lead in a network film while still in school. Unbelievable. So thanks so much, guys. And now I think we're gonna go to Q&A, I believe.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Hi, folks. So I guess I should start my video. Hi, so I don't know how the Q&A is going to work. I guess people can write stuff in the chat, and Randy, you can turn yourself on and we can answer anybody's questions, either about studying at AAU or about any of the other things we talked about. I saw lots of comments racing by about lighting and other things. So does anybody have any questions? We were so brilliant, you don't. How it worked during COVID. And oh, okay, yes, that's a great question about how it will work during COVID. Okay, so we're very excited because we were already one of the foremost online universities in America, but we weren't quite using Zoom the way we've been using Zoom now. So all of our classes that were on site, 100% of them are on Zoom. And so, for instance, we have an acting class that meets Monday and Tuesday mornings that's team taught by 5 teachers with many, many actors. That's a filming class. So we still meet. We meet in, Melissa and Marvin are 2 of the teachers. I help out. I'm the traffic coordinator. We meet in the Zoom room. We do a little lecture. Then we break up into breakout rooms where each teacher has 10 actors. And then we send 2 actors each to our LA directors in another breakout room. They rehearse for an hour and a half on one day. And then on the next day, they actually shoot, and we have editors cutting it together. So they actually get one-on-one attention, just like they were on a sound stage. Plus the actors get to work in small groups. In our cinematography classes, Bruce is teaching lighting with his little model sets. We also do have our equipment rooms open, and students can go get cameras on Thursdays, take them home, shoot in safety, and then return them on Wednesdays. So both our cameras and our little lighting packages and our sound packages go out. All of our screenwriting classes are still going on. We meet in lectures, we break students up in groups, we come back, we read scripts, we share scripts. So every single one of our classes is still going on just the way it was going on. Now, I don't want to sound like Pollyanna. Obviously, we're not having large groups on sets. We're not having people booming and things like that. But it is pretty much business as usual. And I actually, our film festival, which is Friday night at 7 o'clock, and anybody who wants a link can come see the best of AAU's film departments. I interviewed the students about how they felt about, and some of them even said they like it better, not they like staying in their house, but they like the Zoom experience because, especially for actors, it's all about being here. And all of our actors are getting a lot of attention from their teachers about the honesty of what is going on. So who else has a question? How do you create backstory for either a protagonist or antagonist that happens to be like an inanimate object or an element of nature or something like that, where the character isn't a person or an animal? Great question. It's like you create any other backstory. What do you want their purpose to be? An inanimate object, you could be doing a backstory of my little cup right here. So this was a cup that my dad used, and I use it every day, and it has great importance to me. And it could have an entire backstory about its relationship to my father and its relationship to me, and how much it means to me because it was my dad's. So backstory, you can give absolutely. Look at the movie Cars. Every one of those cars had a backstory. So backstory, again, is how you develop the persona and the experience of something. If you think of that movie, the Traveling Pants movie, the pants had a backstory. So lots of inanimate objects can have backstories. Are there any advice of making movies or shortcuts with the cell phone? Bruce? Are there any advices about making movies with the cell phone? Bruce, can you hear?
So one of the biggest problems with Zoom, I find, is remembering to unmute myself. So I apologize for that. There are some great applications. I think Filmic is the one that I use a lot. Filmic Pro. It's only $14.99. I don't work for them. I don't get any kind of consideration from them, but it allows you to do control on your phone, individual control, many of the same controls that you can with a normal camera. Time code, white balance, a lot of different selections. Of course, most of the iPhones these days are now 4K. There are additional lenses that you can get for your cameras. There are systems where there are additional microphones that you can put into your cameras, into your cell phone. So shooting 4K on an iPhone is not such a bad idea. I mean, it's really amazing what kind of picture quality you can get on your phone these days.
Lorenzo, how hands-on is the director with scoring and music? The directors at AAU are incredibly hands-on because we teach them how to use music. And in both our Shot in a Day class, which is one of our final directing class, and our thesis film classes, we require our directors to score and use music. Now, there's two kinds of scores for those of you who are directors. There's something called a temp score, which means you have $100 million because you can take any person's music from anywhere and you can put that score in so you can see how different pieces of music make the audience feel. Because that really is what music does, is it makes an audience feel. We could have done the same workshop we were doing with acting, where we could have taken this scene, put in different music, and you would have felt different ways. But then we also have a great music department here, and we work with composers in our music departments to write original music to replace the temp music, which is a guideline. And that's all about the director, because score is almost another way to write a movie. Because again, you're forcing people to have emotions and feel something. Sarah, sorry. Yes, at AAU, if you are in the graduate program, we have a MA in directing and screenwriting. It's an MA that focuses on both at the same time. Also, you have a lot of flexibility to take classes in other majors. So there's a great amount of time where you can be a director screenwriter at AAU. And in fact, we have director actors, we have production designer directors. So there's an ability to learn many different crafts and skills. And because our sound stages are free to our students, because our camera equipment, if you've passed the right class to get the right insurance on the camera equipment, is free to everybody, we have an editor who went out, wrote a script, directed the script, and we helped him make this come alive. So the real virtue of having all these sound stages and all this equipment that we have is absolutely anybody can put together a team of filmmakers. And it's one of the things we left out, which is volunteering. We produce somewhere in the area of 365 pieces of shot material every semester. And a lot of that needs crew. And anybody who is at AAU can come and volunteer to be crew on a film. And obviously, you're gonna get the level of job, which is the level of your experience. But we have director production designers who go and they're in the directing track, but they production design all their friends' films. We have a lot of the actors who wanna work in directing. So it's both in-class stuff and then partnering with your friends out of class to use the facilities to be able to do your own projects. And we're very supportive of that. If you come to us and tell us about a project, then we will try and help you. To my 10th grade friend, I'm looking at the college, how should I prepare? I'm hoping for a director, editor, major. Well, there's a lot of things you can do. One is watch 100 million movies and TV, because the more you watch, the more you're going to notice things. Get a camera and go out with your friends and start practicing shooting. Take a neighborhood acting class. Do everything you can to steep yourself. But I'll tell you, and for people who ask how to be a screenwriter, how do you get ideas? How do you make character and backstory? The honest to God truth is experience life. The more places you travel, the more people you see, the more environments you put yourself in, the better filmmaker you'll be. So one of the really big things to do is experience the world, and not just the little world that you're used to. Different neighborhoods, different people, different fashion, different foods. The more things you can experience, the more you're going to bring that into your work. And that will make you amazing.
Jana? Hey, Jana, can you mind maybe just explaining a little bit about how important the cameras are that we allow our students to use as well as while they're students?
Well, right. I mean, that's what we like right now. We're using Alexas, which are very, very, very high-end cameras for our high-end classes that Bruce teaches. And that's just a part of your class. You don't pay extra to use an Alexa. We also have DSLRs. We have every kind of step-up camera. And if there's a new camera that comes out next year, we'll have one of those new cameras to work with. And that's every piece of equipment, the editing software is the highest end Avid editing software is in computers all over the film school. So everything we have, you know, and we didn't touch on some of our extra programs, like our VR program. We have an extensive VR program, which we do here. We're a film school for those of you who still want to shoot on film. We actually have our own telecine bays, and we do teach shooting on film as well as teaching digitally. And it's optional for you. I keep asking why we're doing it, and I keep getting told by the film department that there's still a lot of good things having to do with film. So we're doing both film and digital for cinematography. But everywhere along the line, our focus is what's going on in the industry. How do we prepare you for going out into the industry? And that's why almost everybody who teaches for us is still working. I'm writing a screenplay for a production company right now. We all still work in the business. So we're not talking about the good old days. We're talking about what's going on in our lives right now. I directed something this year. Melissa directed something that's a traveling show for, who's it for, Melissa?
It's for the Norman Rockwell Museum. It's been to a lot of really huge art museums in the US and Europe. And they showed it to a lot of politicians and prime ministers for the anniversary of D-Day in Normandy.
So that's what we want for you guys, is to have professionals teaching you and to teach you professionally. So Bruce, somebody wanted to know, how do you go about breaking down a script as a DP? So can you do that one succinctly in a way?
I take the script and I actually like to print them, kind of old school, and I like to take my pencil and I like to think about what comes to mind as I'm reading it. And I like to underscore it with emotion. And I like to put questions in it too. So when I meet with the creators and I meet with the director, I can ask what scenes feel like. So even if they felt a certain way for me, or even if they felt like they should happen at night, or they should happen in the rain, or there was terror, or there was love, what I want to do is I want to get into a meeting and I want to find out how the creators feel about it. Because as a director of photography, I want to put what they have in mind on the screen. It's not only what I felt when I read it. I'm not the creator. So the biggest compliment that I think that I ever got in the business is when a creator saw what after I shot something that they created, they said, you know what, Bruce, that's exactly what I visualized when I wrote it.
Whoever asked about art experience, we have both screenwriting and filmmaking this summer in our department as art experience. I also wanted to add, Melissa reminded me to tell you about our drone program. We're one of, I think we may be the only film school in America that has an underwater drone. We also have an extensive aerial drone program. And in fact, just like in Production Hub where we're doing PSAs, our aerial drones right now are based on a retired naval carrier that still goes out to sea. And we're doing, with our drone, we're doing a documentation of that carrier while it's doing sea maneuvers. So it's pretty cool. And our student cinematographers, and in fact, we have directors in that class as well, are shooting that. And it's gonna, again, it's something, because we're all about trying to prepare for the business. That drone program is gonna be on the website. It's gonna be shown around the world at different exhibitions. So we're always trying to teach things where people get something they can put on a reel, a professional reel, and say, look at what we've accomplished, look at what we've done already, even though we're in school.
And just to piggyback what Jana was saying, so when we were in shelter in place, the head of the Cinetrack got drones and shipped them out to the students in the class so they could continue taking the class and actually doing exercises, obviously honoring whatever the restrictions are in where they live. So it's not like it just ended and like, oh, no more drones.
Jessica, it's great you're planning on getting here. The minute or even before, come write me or come see me, and I will help you hook you up with some stuff so you can get
Just said the same thing. I'm like, Jessica, come on over now.
Now, I just want, for some of you who are thinking about, well, I have to be online, we're doing a lot of stuff now, even before COVID, and we're going to be doing in the fall, if we're in the building, even more of it, where our online students are going to be brought into the on-site experience. So especially in the directing program, or a lot in the directing program, we now have office staff who walk around with iPads or cell phones in directing classes on the soundstage. So you're able to participate in the class as a director. We had a guy in New Orleans last semester who was participating in the class as if he was there. So he was directing the actors through the cell phone and iPad. He was working with the cinematographer through the cell phone and iPad. And so he was literally directing from New Orleans in San Francisco. And we plan on allowing any student in any class to Zoom in. So it doesn't matter where you will be in the world. Starting in the fall, you will be able to Zoom into class and participate as if you were here. And now during COVID, we've literally got kids who went home to Sweden. I saw somebody log on from France. We have somebody in France. We have students in China. I know the hours are awful. We have a student in Turkey, and they come straight into class. They're acting alongside their peers. And so that interaction will be available to anybody who wants it. Now, obviously, you can't operate a camera, but Bruce has some innovations where he's helping people on Zoom, so they're shooting. So what do you look for in a producer if you're a writer? Somebody who will treat you nicely. You know, writers need to be protected because they're the easiest people to get rid of on a film. And so you want a producer who will fight for you. I think that's what I'm looking for. I'd also like somebody with good taste, but I'll take somebody with not good taste if they'll fight for me. Any other questions? I have some ideas for scripts, but I'm scared to go study because I live far from the school and I don't have much money. So come online. We'll Zoom. I have in my writing classes, I'm teaching 6 writing classes this semester. I have students all over the world right now on Zoom. So it should no longer be a limit. All of our writing classes, you'll be able to be in the room. Any other questions, Melissa? Are you seeing anything, or Randy?
Sorry, I'm typing answers to some. I'm just answering Faith's question about admissions.
Somebody's asking, Melissa, when do the next classes begin for new students?
So we have classes that begin in the summer, and we have classes that begin in the fall, and Hector can definitely address that for you guys. And then I see we have a question for Brenda. What tips do we have for actors that are going to perform in a talent showcase in front of important directors? Well, obviously you want to be good. You know, Brenda, I would just always focus on really listening to what I don't know if you're doing monologues or you're doing songs. I can't tell from your question, but if you're doing scene work, it's really that you're tuned in to the person or people that you're working with, and that you're really seizing control of the lines. You're not just up there reading the lines, but you're actually making something happen with the other people, which you saw with Marvin and Mariah. That's exactly what they gave you a demonstration of. So every time they adjusted, it was a different story. And for those of you coming here to study directing or acting, I mean, the story and acting side of it, which has to merge with the technical, but it also exists in its own realm. It's about finding like the right story. So there's not only one way you can tell it, there's lots of choices that you can make that are interesting, and that's impacted by casting and the choices the actors bring in, and you know, how open the director is to working with that. But at the end of the day, hopefully you find something that is engaging, that works for the genre of the story you're telling. So it makes you laugh. In the case of what we're watching, it terrifies you, it makes you bite your nails, you know, whatever it is that you're working on. That's ideally what would happen.
So Jonathan, yes, you can now do the directing classes online, especially starting in fall. I know we have some of our own students who are participating. If anybody is an AAU director right now, the web series is open to online directors because it'll be over Zoom. So anybody who's a currently enrolled AAU director can enroll in this summer's web series and direct real actors. So because our actors are all actors like Mariah, for all we know, it may be Mariah. So online directors will be able to do that. And yes, whoever asked about, can you participate in another department? I think one of Melissa and my favorite actresses in our films is a graphic art major. Another
designer.
Yes. Another one of our very, very favorite actresses is in the photography department. So our participation in films is by audition. Obviously, if you have electives, you can take your electives in our acting program. And so, yes, we welcome people who have passion. In case you guys didn't notice it, I'm very passionate about filmmaking. Melissa, Randy, Bruce, we actually love what we do. I'm pretty old. I've been doing this for almost 40 years. And when my kids ask me when I'm going to retire, I say the day after I die. I cannot imagine not making movies. And one of the really great things to me about AAU is we don't talk about making movies, we make movies. And poor Randy, because I'm the boss, I make Randy go to most of the all-night shoots. And I think last year he was on all-night shoots like 10 times. I was on 2. But we're still doing that. We're still on these sets all the time. Every thesis film, which is the last year, either Randy or I are on the set from call to wrap every day of the shoot. And we love it. I mean, will we complain? Yes, but we love it. And that's what we want to give our students.
And we do it because this is such an important calling card into the industry. As an executive, I hired two directors right off of their shorts, and they had, really great careers. They still do. So we want this to be the best, and we don't try to intrude, but we really try to push this to the max so that they can have a life, they can have a directing life or whatever they're doing.
So anybody else? I think we got it. One new message. Do we have any option for current high schools to get involved in classes? We have what's called, I believe, a pre-career class. And they're 4 weeks in the summer, and we have both filmmaking and screenwriting classes. So yes, there are those options. And what about me, Jorge? I don't know. Oh, and the other thing I wanted to say to the actors, we have 2 audition classes. So part of the answer to what you're asking about all the showcase stuff is if you're an undergrad, is it in the grad too that we have 2, Melissa?
We have 2 in both the undergrad and the grad.
You will learn how to audition, and you will work very hard on auditioning. Are campus classes required in order to fulfill? Yes, they are. Oh, not on campus, if that's the question. No, you do not need to take on-campus classes.
So basically, you can complete your degree completely on site, completely online, or a combination of both, which we call hybrid. And that really depends on your own personal circumstances and preferences, and your admissions representatives can talk to you about that. But we're proud to offer really great programs in both the modalities. And like Jana said, we're increasingly integrating our on-site and online students.
So anybody else? Okay, Hector, I think you can, someone who is looking to direct and act, is there any directors you'd recommend, being that I have so much free time right now? You mean to watch, Lorenzo? Well, I think we all have our favorites. I love Alexander Payne and the Coen brothers myself. I don't know what Melissa and Randy would recommend.
I love Paul Thomas Anderson.
I gave Wes Anderson, the Coen brothers, and Alexander Payne as examples farther up the chat for totally different reasons. I'm like, we're clearly obsessed with the same directors.
But that's because we all have a dark sense of humor, folks.
Dark sense of humor.
So, in my class, in my screenwriting 1 class today, we were studying Black Panther. And I think he's an incredibly fine director, Ryan Coogler. So you know, everybody, there's all kinds of great movies to watch. And the best thing to do is sample them all.
And I think, I mean, Lorenzo, there are a lot of filmmakers and actors who jump-started their own careers by writing a script for themselves, or in some cases, like they started it as a one-person show. It got pretty big, and then they made it into a film. So you could look up some examples of that, and you might want to model yourself on their careers. I think that would be helpful.
Yeah, I love the Russo brothers too. Bruce, who's your favorite DP?
Well, I have to mention Alan Davio because unfortunately, Alan died a couple of weeks ago. One of the most amazing cinematographers. He did The Color Purple, he did Bugsy, he did scores of other amazing films. And then there's scores of other wonderful DPs.
Thank you, the person in Romania. That's really nice of you to have joined us. We have a couple of Romanians in school right now, and they're terrific people.
So I was just going to say for Jorge, I mean, Jorge, I'm not sure what your question is, but obviously you have an incredible amount of energy and, drive to be the creator, writer, producer, director, and actor of the series that you're talking about. So I think what we could offer you is a really fertile environment with other people who feel similarly, and then the chance to collaborate. That's one of the main things that we teach. But I mean, what I like about this is that obviously you're already making stuff, which is great. And if I'm not answering your exact question, you can just type in the chat what your exact question is. But I did want to acknowledge, like, that's pretty amazing. So good for you.
And Melissa, somebody asked if you could write the name of some of those.
I just did.
All right, perfect.
I think I spelled Coogler wrong, but you can look at who directed Black Panther. And the wonderful.
What was the question, Hector?
Just typing the names of the directors, I did it.
But was it the actor directors, or are they just the directors that you should look at if you're looking to?
Just directors.
Okay.
Yeah, it was just someone mentioned that it was very early where they were, and it would be helpful if we typed it in the chat so they could write it down.
But I don't know, like if you guys know A Quiet Place, which was a great film from last year, and A Quiet Place 2 was supposed to open the week we all sheltered in place, so it'll be opening later this summer. That's directed by an actor.
Yeah, John Krasinski.
Yeah, it's John Krasinski. So there's a lot of great actor directors. It's sort of a natural transition from actor to director in many ways. I produced Jeff Goldblum, I produced Laura Dern, Robert Downey Jr. I produced a lot of actor directors. Helen Mirren, for those of you who know older actors, Danny Glover, and they were all magnificent, magnificent directors because they knew how to talk to the actor. So yeah, that's a really, really smooth transition. I think even smoother than from an actor to a screenwriter. Yeah, Danny's a love. Danny's a great guy.
Whoa. Well, hey, Jana, if you guys like, I can go ahead and wrap it up here, and we can take some more questions in the chat here for everybody as well.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Everybody's good.
Thank you guys so much.
Great. Really appreciate it.
So hey, once again, everybody, my name is Hector Verdugo. I'm the Senior Vice President of Admissions here for the university. You can see my name right up here. Hey, so let's just go ahead and give a big shout out to our crew here tonight in the chat, if you don't mind. A big thank you to everybody here. So a big thank you to, first and foremost, let's start with our actors. Mariah and Marvin killed it tonight. It was so cool to see the different dynamics and the mood changes. You know, I loved seeing all of the different scenes and the variances. Nothing like finding out that you're getting paid twice as much for 6 months, right? So, super cool. And I thought it was really cool to see Marvin's reaction to find out that his those checks were going twice as fast. So really cool. Hey, also Bruce, thank you so much for your time tonight. I know that's obviously a lot of work to set up those little mini stages. I think there were some really cool questions that came out of there and some cool tips about lighting and how to set things up and model. I know that obviously we want to do this on a larger scale, but I think everything translated wonderfully. Randy, once again, always thank you for the tips and the wisdom in the world of producing. Hope you guys are safe out there in Los Angeles. Last but not least, Jana, thank you so much, as always, for orchestrating this stuff with your team tonight. I know this was a really, really cool event for the last couple of hours, and to do this, you know, over the internet and do this on Zoom, I think a lot of the principles and a lot of the things that we were trying to get across really came across nicely for the students out there. So many people, if you guys don't mind, I always try to do this with my sign-offs, but throw in where you're at one more time here, and I'll give some shout-outs to the team or to the people out there. And then one other thing I want to do is take a few minutes here to just pitch our next event, our next steps, and how all that stuff works here. So while you're throwing in...
Can I interrupt for 1 second? I want to pitch Friday night next up. If you want to see some of our great work, my email is in the chat and I will get you a link, and we're doing a webinar. It starts at 7 p.m. on Friday night, and you'll see all the best of the Motion Picture School. Off to you, Hector.
Gracias, much appreciated. Hey, so everybody, first thing I wanted to do is just take the time really quickly to promote next week's event. So please, if you have the time, if you can join us, this will be a really, really cool event. It's going to be 3D draping with a faculty member, Robert Curry. It'll be very interactive on learning how to do fashion cuts, 3D draping. We're going to try to make it so that everybody can follow along and learn some really cool stuff. I will be dropping the links next week, but we have upcoming, we're going to have a photography workshop. So that'll be very engaging. People will be able to participate from all over. We'll have photos taken. We'll be uploading it on social media so that we can have a little bit of a photo challenge. And we're also working on a music workshop for May 19th. So I'll get the links to that for everybody for next week as well. Definitely want to make sure that we have our repeat customers coming back, checking out these cool workshops. It's a fun way to spend your time at home. So a couple important links I want to drop in here now is this. I know that a lot of you out there have had a ton of questions about things like, how do I get started with school? Regardless, if you're in high school right now, if you're a graduate, if you're looking to get your master's degree, your bachelor's degree, an associate's degree, if you're just trying to figure out, what do I do? I'm in 9th grade. How do I get started? We literally have programs that cover the whole spectrum for everybody. We can help everybody take a class or figure out what their path is going to be. So if you had a good time tonight, I just want to make sure that I reassure everybody that the first step is to reach out to us, submit an application, get your questions answered. We want to try to help you to figure all of this stuff out. I'm putting my email here. If you need any information from the faculty, just send me an email. I'll connect you to them as well. It's no problem at all for me. Next thing I'm going to drop is the application here. So if you have not applied to the university and you're interested in taking that first step to get your application going for a degree seeking student, whether you're a graduate or an undergraduate student, this right here would be where you want to go to start an application to the university. Once again, my goal is to try to help everybody one-on-one. So please don't be shy to send me the email. Worst case scenarios, we'll have a conversation. We'll talk a little bit about what you want to do, and I'll be more than happy to give you the best advice possible. Thank you to some of you guys sending me those emails out there. So anyway, hey, I'm going to wrap it up with this. As you can see, this is a lot of fun, but I also want to make sure that everybody understands that everybody that is here that has success in their life and all of the people that you've seen in the awards they've won, none of these things came easy. There are a lot of long nights. There are a lot of hard work. It's a lot of dedication. I would just tell you that if you're in a position right now where you can try to do something you're passionate about and something that you would do all night long anyway, try to take the first step and go in that direction and make that your career. I'm sure that a lot of the people that are in this room right now would back me up in saying that, you know, if you want to win an Oscar or an Emmy or be employed in the film industry or acting or whatever it may be, it's going to be somewhat of a leap of faith. It's going to be you believing in yourself. It's going to be you putting in the work. And I can tell you, in my career, I have nothing to do with acting, but I would tell you it probably holds very true with anybody in the film industry, that hard work, dedication, all of that stuff is usually the bigger gap between people that make it and don't make it. I read Bruce's bio earlier, and it said, after being laughed off the stage, after being yelled at or laughed off the stage, you'll see things like that in most people's backgrounds and stories, that they're going to take a lot of bumps and defeat before they actually get to where they want to go. And I would just tell you that if you're at that starting point, don't think it's going to be easy. Be resilient, put in the effort, put in the work, and that's what's going to help you to be strong and develop what you need to get there. So that's my advice to everybody out there, is take the first step, believe in yourself, push yourself every single day. That's what's going to separate you and get you to the finish line. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and drop the link one more time to my email so that you can reach out to me directly. I can help you with basically going over how to actually become a student here, or just help you with life advice, whatever I could do to help you out there. I'm going to sign off on video. I'm going to let the chat run here for a little bit longer to take any more questions or exchange information so we can talk. But I'll be sitting here back on my computer, getting back to everybody via email tonight so we can set up some of those times. So once again, thank you all so much out there. If you don't mind, in the chat, go ahead and throw your best wishes and thank yous to the team here so they can see that. Other than that, be safe out there, everybody, and I hope you have a wonderful night.
Good night, Hector.
Yeah, night.
Thank you all.
Night, guys. Thanks.
Hey, guys.